My name is Ethan Caldwell, and for the last 12 years, I've been the proud owner of a 1970 Dodge Charger R/T, a beast of a machine painted in its original Panther pink, a rare, factory-correct hue that turns heads wherever it goes. This wasn't just a car to me. It was a living relic of my youth, a dream I'd chased since I was a kid flipping through car magazines under the covers with a flashlight. I'd saved every penny from my part-time jobs as a teenager, and when I finally tracked down this Charger numbers matching, mostly original, I poured another 4 years into restoring it. Every bolt, every curve, every gleaming inch of chrome was a testament to my devotion. Experts pegged its value at around $75,000, but to me, it was beyond pricey, a piece of my soul on 4 wheels. Our story unfolds in Willow Creek, a quiet suburban enclave where I'd settled with my wife, Lauren, and our son, Jacob, 8 years ago. The neighborhood was idyllic at first. Wide lawns, friendly waves, and a sense of community that felt like a reward for years of hard work as a structural engineer. Like most developments around here, Willow Creek had a homeowners association known simply as the HOA. In the early days, they were benign enough, hosting barbecues, keeping the playgrounds tidy, and enforcing rules that seemed fair. No junk cars, no overgrown weeds. The fees were reasonable. I didn't mind signing the covenant when we bought the house. It all felt like part of the suburban package. That changed when Margaret Voss took over as HOA president 4 years ago. A former real estate mogul in her late 50s, Margaret brought a ruthless efficiency to Willow Creek that felt more suited to a corporate takeover than a neighborhood board. Under her reign, the HOA morphed into a petty autocracy. The rulebook ballooned with new edicts. Mailboxes had to be a specific shade of taupe, holiday lights couldn't blink, and lawns were measured with rulers to ensure they never exceeded 2 inches. Fines rained down for the smallest infractions. A basketball left in a driveway, a flower pot deemed too garish. Margaret's VY Shown was a sterile uniformity, and she wielded her authority like a sledgehammer. I tried to keep my head down. My lawn was pristine, my house painted in one of the 6 approved shades of beige, my trash cans whisked away the second the truck rumbled by. But my Charger? That was the sticking point. Margaret despised it from the moment she laid eyes on it. It's ostentatious, she'd sniffed during one of her neighborhood walks, her clipboard clutched like a shield. It lowers the tone of Willow Creek. She'd push for bans on non-conforming vehicles at every meeting, but a handful of gearheads in the neighborhood, myself, included, fought her tooth and nail. The rules stayed vague enough that I could keep my Charger in the driveway, covered with a custom tarp when not in use, gleaming beneath it like a hidden treasure. I thought I'd found a truce. I never worked on it in public, never left it uncovered overnight, and took it out only for weekend cruises or the occasional car show. I was meticulous, respectful, hell. I even waved at Margaret when she passed by with her yapping terrier, though she never waved back. But on a crisp October morning, everything I'd built came crashing down. It started like any other Tuesday. I left for work at 7:15, backing my sensible Toyota Camry out of the garage. The Charger sat in the driveway, its pink curves shrouded under the tarp, safe from the autumn chill. I noticed Margaret lingering across the street. Her eyes narrowed as she scribbled something on her clipboard, but I brushed it off. Work was brutal. That Dia Bridge project hit a snag, and I didn't leave the office until after 7 p.m. Traffic was a nightmare, and by the time I turned onto our street, dusk had settled over Willow Creek like a heavy blanket. As I pulled into the driveway, something felt wrong. The shape under the tarp was familiar, but the color peeking out from a loose corner wasn't. My stomach dropped. I bolted from the car, flipped on the floodlights, and tore the tarp away. What I saw hit me like a punch to the gut. My Charger, my pride and joy, had been repainted, every inch of it, in a dull, flat sage green. Not a scratch, not a drip, just a perfect professional coat of the exact shade listed in the HOA's approved exterior palette. The Panther pink was gone, buried under this soulless suburban camouflage. I stood there, frozen, my breath fogging in the cool air. Then I saw it, a crisp envelope tucked under the windshield wiper, emblazoned with the Willow Creek HOA logo. My hand shook as I opened it. Notice of compliance action, it read. According to Section 8.4 of the updated bylaw, something about vehicle aesthetics clashing with community standards, my Charger had been deemed a violation. The letter claimed I'd received repeated warnings, a lie. I'd never seen a single one, and that the HOA had exercised its right to correct the issue at my expense. Attached was an invoice for due lot $2,800, signed by Margaret Voss herself, with a little flourish under her name that felt like a taunt. Rage boiled up inside me, hot and blinding. Lauren found me minutes later, kneeling beside the car, the crumpled notice in my fist, my voice hoarse from shouting into the night. They painted it, I kept saying, as if saying it aloud would undo it. They painted my Charger. Jacob peeked out from the porch, wide-eyed, before Lauren ushered him back inside. I couldn't stop staring at the green monstrosity where my pink masterpiece had been. This wasn't just a paint job, it was an erasure. A classic car's value hinges on its authenticity, its history. That sage green had slashed its worth in half, maybe more. My due law $75,000 dream was now a due law $30,000 footnote. The police came that night, lights flashing silently in the dark. They took my statement, photographed the car, but their hands are tied. If the HOA's covenant gives them authority, this is a CIVYL matter, the officer said, almost apologetically. You'll need a lawyer. I call my insurance next, but they were no help. HOA actions fell under an exclusion clause. By midnight, I was on the phone with a 24-hour legal hotline, Leah VYing messages with anyone who'd listen. Sleep didn't come. I sat in the garage, the Charger's new paint fumes stinging my nose, running my hands over the steering wheel, the one piece they hadn't touched, and plotting my next move. Dawn brought clarity and a call from Sarah Gwynn, a property law attorney with a reputation for taking on overzealous HOAs. Mr. Caldwell, she said, her voice sharp and steady. I've heard your story, and if it's as you say, we've got a hell of a case. This isn't enforcement, it's vandalism with a budget. She arrived that afternoon, a petite woman with a no-nonsense air, snapping photos of the Charger with a high-end camera. I've seen HOAs tow cars, fine owners, even plant liens, she said, shaking her head. But repainting a classic car without consent? That's a new level of audacity. We sat in my kitchen, the HOA notice spread out between us. I showed her my records, no warnings, no emails, nothing. I explained the Charger's value, the years I'd invested, the gut punch of seeing it defiled. Sarah's eyes gleamed as she took notes. They've overstepped, she said. HOAs have power, but it's not absolute. They can't destroy your property under the guise of standards. We'll hit them with an injunction to stop any more stunts, then sue for damages, restoration costs, diminished value, punitive damages. The works. I called in a favor from Tom Hargrove, a classic car appraiser I'd met at show years back. He arrived that evening, and his reaction was VY Cyril. Holy hell, Ethan, he gasped, circling the Charger. This is a crime against automotive history. His appraisal was brutal. Pre-paint, the car was worth due law $72,000 to due law $78,000. Post-paint, maybe due law $35,000 if I was lucky. Restoration would cost due law $20,000 to due law $25,000, stripping the green, repairing any hidden damage, and sourcing the rare Panther pink paint. Even then, Tom warned, collectors will hesitate. The provenance is tainted now. As Tom finished, a black SUV rolled up. Margaret Voss stepped out, her terrier on a leash, her smile as fake as ever. Mr. Caldwell, she called, striding toward us. I see you've received our notice. I trust you'll settle the invoice. Promptly late fees start tomorrow. Tom shot me a look and I nodded. I wanted this on record. Margaret, I said, forcing calm into my voice. You had my car repainted without my permission. I'm not paying a dime. My attorney's already drafting a lawsuit. Her smile didn't falter, but her eyes turned to ice. The covenant allows us to address violations, she replied smoothly. You were notified multiple times. If you'd read the October Re-VY science. I got no notices. I cut in. And nothing in the covenant lets you destroy personal property. Tom chimed in, Ma'am, I'm an appraiser. That paint job cut this car's value by overdue law 40,000. Restoration's another due law 20,000. I'll testify to that. Margaret's mask slipped for a split second before she rallied. It's an improvement, she insisted. That garish pink clashed with Willow Creek's aesthetic. We've enhanced its appeal. Tom Laffeyed a short, bitter bark. That's like saying you've enhanced a Monet by slapping latex over it. You've ruined a piece of history. Margaret bristled, but held firm. File your appeal at the next meeting, Mr. Caldwell. The invoice stands. She set it on the charger's hoodah deliberate jab before sauntering off. That night, a certified letter arrived. The HOA was MOVYing to lien my house for non-compliance and unpaid corrections. The fight was escalating, and I was all in. Sarah filed the injunction the next day, and we began discovery. What we uncovered was a gold mine. The vehicle aesthetics rule had been slipped into the bylaws without a vote. Emails showed Margaret plotting the paint job with her cousin's company, and there wasn't a shred of EVY denke. I'd been warned. This is premeditated, Sarah said, grinning. They're toast. The neighborhood started to stir. When the HOA slapped a due law 1,500 special assessment on everyone to fund their legal defense, people snapped. Neighbors I barely knew, Mark Ruiz, a mechanic, Ellen Tate, a nurse, reached out with their own horror stories. Fines for unapproved birdhouses, threats over kids' chalk drawings. A meeting at Mark's garage drew 40 residents, furious and ready to act. They painted your car? Ellen asked, incredulous. They fined me due law 200 for a porch swing. A coalition formed, pushing for a board recall. The trial hit in December, a frigid week that felt like a reckoning. Sarah shredded Margaret on the stand, exposing her lies and cronyism. The HOA's lawyer floundered, their defense unraveling. Judge Helen Carter's ruling came fast and fierce. The HOA had to restore my charger, pay due law 45,000 for diminished value, cover my fees, and cough up due law 60,000 in punitive damages. The lien and assessment were voided, and the board was ordered to overhaul its rules under Super VY Shown. Margaret resigned within days, fleeing Willow Creek with her tail between her legs. A new board rose, fair and transparent, and the neighborhood breathed again. 6 months later, I drove my charger home from the restorer, panther pink gleaming like a phoenix reborn. Neighbors cheered as I parked Ida's symbol of VY Tory, not just for me, but for all of us. It wasn't just about a car anymore. It was about fighting back, about reclaiming what's yours when someone tries to take it away. And as I watched Jacob wax it with me on weekends, I know he's learning that lesson too. Some things are worth the battle, no matter the odds. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.